All right. If I could have your attention for a moment. I have a few things I want to say and then we'll get started. So, number one, this is a forum, not a debate. What that means is no questions from the audience to any of the candidates and no questions from candidates to other candidates. No audience participation. And you can applaud lightly, I guess, but
can we applaud the moderator?
No. He's definitely undeserving. And the purpose of this is to help those of you in the audience to determine which candidates you wish to vote for. And this is going to be accomplished by asking each candidate questions that get to the issues of suitability, how qualified are you, availability, can you be here when you need to be, and political positions, do they agree with what I believe? That's simple. Well, or you. I'm personifying for you all, you know. Do the candidates agree? Do I agree with them? And you're giving me a hard time. I appreciate you wouldn't do that. But I understand you will. So. Time is limited to 2 hours, with a significant portion allocated to opening statements. I urge the candidates to address the issues noted above in their opening statements, and moderator points will be awarded for brevity. Of course, moderator points mean nothing. Many of the questions, and I got lots of questions from many people, and I appreciate the input. Many of them will be structured as yes, no, because of the limited time. Some will not, so you'll have a chance to make your views known. I think I have more questions than we can possibly answer in 2 hours. And if it's all right with you all, I'll give the questions that weren't answered to Emily. You can answer them in writing and it can be distributed or posted on the website. And assuming nobody has any objections to that, we'll do that. And finally, since it would be unfair for some candidates to always be the first or last to answer a given question,
can you just move?
I have randomized it. I have 1 through 7 in this little cup, and David will be 1, Roger will be 7, and for each question I'll just pull a number out. When your turn comes up, you're first, and when it doesn't, you're not. Any questions from anyone about that?
There's 2 candidates missing.
There are 2 candidates. John Garland and Charles Briggs are not here.
That was John on the phone.
Yes.
Strep throat.
Strep throat. Yeah. I'm glad he's not here. Okay. Opening statements.
Before you do that.
Yeah.
You said the order is 1 to 7, I presume, for opening statements. Are you going to reverse that for closing statements?
No, I'm going to randomize it. So I'll pick a number out of here, and whichever number comes up makes the first opening statement.
Okay.
I'll do that for every question. I'll do it for the closing statement. So I'd like to give your name, your age, if you like, and if you don't like, that's fine. Education level, military service, if any, work history, personal information, and why do you think you should be elected? And I'll give you an example. Yes.
Okay, I think I'd like to make an announcement. We are taping this, and or recording it, I should say, and that's for the Graham Star and the Graham Star editorial.
Okay. Very good. So I'm Dick Eystone. I'm 69 years old. I have a bachelor's degree from Drake University, a master's in business from the University of Iowa. Go Hawks, 7-0 this year. 4 years in the Coast Guard. I worked in various places. Linda said I couldn't keep a job. Most of them startups and in the high-tech business. We've been married for 47 years, and she'll be your timekeeper. And you should not elect me because I am neither suitable nor qualified.
We want you.
And with that,
and there's 5 minutes for each of you for your opening statements. And I will let you know.
Number 2.
15 seconds.
How long? You get to start.
All right, I'm Bob Allman. I just turned 80 years old. I am a restaurant tour operator in my past and also recently real estate developer. But at the moment I am retired, and so I have very little to do anymore. So I am devoting my time, constructive time, to trying to help the city, trying to help the people get along, trying to help the people, what can I say? Help the people smooth out. There's a little rough edges around here now, and I'd like to see it smooth. And I'm running for the next 2 years, and I appreciate you vote if you vote for me. And that's it.
Okay, Bob?
Bob Ware, I'm 71. I'm a retired veterinarian, so had multiple practices in Florida, and I've lived here for a few years now. I have 3 children, 2 are here in Graham County, and I think everyone needs to give back to their community or their profession or whatever, and so this is my chance to do that. And I think there are things that can be improved upon around here, and my goal would be to just help them like that.
All right.
Thank you. My name is Connie Gross. I'm 58 years old. I live here. Let's see, and I'm basically my goal is to get back to a more friendly town. Like when I first came up here 25 plus years ago. We're a small town, and I feel it's important to see the value of a small town, what it brings, and I want to appreciate it by keeping it that way. One of the changes I like one of the things I like best about this small town is how people come together and help when it's most needed, either lending a hand or being there just to comfort. I would like the opportunity to serve on the Lake Santeetlah Council. I promise to work hard and bring back the small town basic needs for our town and its people. I am also not running for personal gain or myself. I run to serve and bring what is fair and right back to this town. We are a small town, and we should represent all property owners equally. I want to give the people of this town back its vote. They count. We all do. As I openly share with you what I believe to be right and true, there's a fine line between what's right and just. I will, as a council person, never put this town in jeopardy or on that line. Thank you for the opportunity to come before you as a candidate. Thank you. Please vote for me.
Sure.
I'm Jim Hager, and I want to first start off by thanking Dick for agreeing to moderate this event, and I want to thank everybody for their participation. I am 67 years old. My lovely bride back here is Ann, and we've only been married 47 years. Ann is a native of Graham County, born here, and lived here until she was about 8 years old, if I have my figures correct. My first visit to Graham County was in 1968, and we have been coming here regularly since 1969 when her parents retired and moved here. Her dad was with the National Park Service. And, when they retired, they go home on Old Sweetwater Road and build a little house. And I think it was winter time the first time I came here, and the lake was really low, and I thought, boy, that's an ugly lake. But my opinion has definitely changed. Ann and I are both graduates of the University of Louisville. She has a master's in educational psychology, which she uses on me every day. And I have a bachelor's in business administration, and I did some postgraduate work and received a certificate in community development from the University of Louisville. My work career, I managed probation and pro services in Louisville, Kentucky. And by virtue of my position, I served on the Louisville Jefferson County Crime Commission, the local Jefferson County Board of Health, Methadone Advisory Board. Also served on the County Judge Executives Advisory Committee. After we retired, we moved to Florida in 2003, bought a small business, grew the business, doubled its size, and after 6 years of working our butts off, we decided to sell that business, and we started spending more and more of our time up here in Robbinsville. We have 2 sons. One still lives in Louisville. Our oldest son, Scott, lives here on Lake Santeetlah with his wife and daughter, Madeline. Ann and I are both volunteer guardian ad litems where we advocate for abused and neglected children through the court system. I am treasurer of Robbinsville United Methodist Church, and I served as treasurer of First Baptist Church for Sterling, Florida for over 5 years. I'm a veteran of the Army, served for 2 years. During the Vietnam era, but fortunately I was stationed in Korea right on the DMZ, which was a much safer place to be at that time. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Bob Crabtree. I was born in 1937, what makes me just 78 years old a couple weeks ago. I grew up in moving around, but did most of my growing up in southeast Missouri. I went into the Army. I went to school first. I got a bachelor's and a master's from the University of Michigan in electrical engineering. Never used it a day in my life. I became a computer programmer and worked for IBM for 30 years. Before that, I was in the Army for 3 years. And because it was the lull between Korea and Vietnam, they didn't know what to do with me, so they sent me to NASA. And I got to work down in Houston with the astronauts for 3 years, which was a great experience. Anyway, I retired in 1998. My wife and I had been started to come up here in 1995, 30 years ago. And we finally bought a house here and started a little house on the lake, and we lived here for several years, and then we built the house up at the top of the mountain in 2004. We finished it in 2004. I first became interested in the town because I served on some committees back in the 2002, 2003 era. And then in 2004, or 2003, excuse me, I ran for the town council and got elected. Sheldon Singer was the mayor at that time. I got elected again in 2005. In 2007, I got elected again, and this time they selected me as mayor. I then served until 2009 when I was elected again, and Guy Owen took over as mayor, and I was vice mayor for both 2007 and 2009. And then in 2013, 2 years ago, Guy knew that he was going to be leaving, so he wanted me to take over the mayorship again, so I did. And I have enjoyed serving on as mayor and serving on the council. It is a responsibility. It takes a lot of time. There's not a significant amount of pay to it. For those of you who don't know, the councilmen get $100 a month, and the mayor and vice mayor and financial officer get $200 a month. So we're not exactly going to get rich doing it, but it is an opportunity to serve, and I've enjoyed serving, and I'm hoping to be able to continue in that. Thank you.
Roger.
Hi, everybody. My name is Roger Carlton. I'd like to introduce you all, if you don't know, my lovely wife Beth in the back. We're newlyweds. We've only been married 36 years. So we've owned our home here for 12 years. We moved up here full-time 2.5 years ago. And we love this place. And we wanted to become part of the community. So when Arthur Griffith asked me to run, and Arthur was a good friend, that was really what got me started on thinking about running. Personally, we have 2 wonderful kids, 4 wonderful granddaughters. They're all growing up fast, 4, 6, 8, and just 5. So they all came very quickly. The educational background, I have an undergraduate degree from the University of Florida and a master's in business from the Georgia State University in Atlanta. I finished all my coursework for my PhD at the University of Miami, but I got married and bought a house and changed jobs in the same year, and there went my dissertation out the window. I have served in my career predominantly in South Florida. I've been a city manager 3 times, ran some authorities, was an assistant county manager, probably 60% of my career. The other 40% I was in the private sector, working with Lockheed Martin and with another company called Wometco. But my entire career has been one of either being in government or relating to government somehow from the private side. I wanted to thank a number of people. First, Beth, again, for having the patience to let me spend the enormous amount of time that it takes to be a good council member. The voters who put me in last time, my colleagues on the commission, and also Arthur Griffith, who got me involved, who was replaced by Paul Holman after Arthur passed, and Jim Hager, who replaced Guy Owen when he moved away. Jim has done an extraordinary job of getting involved in the details of the water bills and many other things in a very short period of time. I also want to thank Kim, Eric, and Emily, our 3 employees who have started recently but have already dug in and are really turning things around. They're great people. Why did I run? Why would somebody who'd been in government, retired, seen it all, done it all, want to run up here? First, while it's easy to say that we want things to be happy and nice, I don't deal with easy. If you want somebody who deals with easy, then don't vote for me. I deal with problems and solving them. And there were a lot of problems. There were things that were going on that needed to be brought out. There were things that, and I'm not saying anything illegal or anything nasty, just things that weren't being done. We put a lot of those issues on the table, and I say we. This council works together very well. We have different viewpoints on many different things, all the way from liberal to conservative. But we talk about it, we hold open public meetings, and we make decisions, specific decisions, and we move forward. There was a lot of abuse going on. People were clear-cutting trees, people were building things that were not permitted, that should have been, and there's just a long list. We've rewritten many of our rules and regulations through a public process, lots of input. Sometimes it takes 3 or 4 months, but we've done it all, and they're getting better, and people are starting to do what they're supposed to do without abusing the system. And I guess my final reason is that this is paradise. As was mentioned earlier, this is a friendly place, as it should be. But sometimes when you deal with change, things are not easy. And while you're going through change, sometimes there's a little contention. But when you deal with those issues openly and candidly and in the public forum and give everybody a chance to speak, you do get to the end of the day. So I'd like
15.
Excuse me. I could list 15 things specifically that this council has done, but you don't need to do that. All of our meetings are publicly noticed. There's plenty of opportunity for people to speak, and thank you for the opportunity.
David.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is David Dicker. I have served on the town's employment aspect for the better part of 7 years. I've resided here for 6.5 years. I bring a technical aspect in all my background building aircrafts, and so it's manufacturing. I also have a technical degree in outside plant engineering, which is, for those who don't know, underground utilities with me to the table when it comes to bringing experience. As far as me being available, I live in town, so I am retired now because I don't work with the town anymore. However, I do have a business in the town of Robbinsville, so I do have ties to the community. With that said, my views on what's been happening with the town are irrelevant here. It's moving forward that we're concerned with what I can do for the town. I believe that voting among the council members is a collective way of solving issues. When working together, I intend to view that as well as take into consideration the public points of view, because we're here to serve the public. We also have to work with the county. We have to work with the state. And in taking all that into consideration collectively as a council member, we can provide the town with what will help us to survive here. In surviving, that means keeping our reserves in check. That means keeping our water system in check and making sure we have a secure and friendly and happy environment for working. With that said, I would like to revisit some of the issues if I was councilman that have been brought forth as far as the water system is concerned. It's not up to me to make that decision. All I can bring is experience and suggestions. And one of the things I would suggest is definitely to revisit this proposal of bringing a $100,000 expenditure on the town's behalf, or the residents' behalf, to do an upgrade which I feel is not necessary. With that said, vote for me. Dick, back to you.
Thank you. So one more. My original plan when asking the following questions was to tell you who submitted the question. And it turns out I got lots of questions from lots of people, and as I said earlier, I appreciate all of the input. However, many of them were quite similar. So I took the liberty to smush them together. And so while you may not hear your question specifically, you'll hear the essence of it in some of these. So, so according to my understanding, and this is thanks to Emily and others, in order to be a candidate for our town council, you must A, be a legal resident of North Carolina, B, be registered to vote in Graham County and have been so for 30 days prior to the elections, C, either own property in the town or be a renter in the town. This is in addition to the requirements to vote in a USA election, which include being a citizen of the United States, be over the age of 18, and not be a convicted felon, or if you have been convicted of a felony, that you served your sentence in probation. Do you meet all of these questions, qualifications, yes or no?
Yes.
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 Yes, sir.
Yes.
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 Okay, thank you. This will be a little more long-winded than number 5. Jim, as in any town, at times we do not agree on everything. Personalities can clash in these situations. How would you handle a situation in which you really disagreed with another citizen during a town planning or council meeting, assuming you're elected to the council?
I think first you need to go back and look at the process that we've been using. And I think we as the town council have not done an outstanding job of getting information out to our residents prior to the time that we vote on issues. One of the things that, this is probably the largest group I've seen in this town hall. But we have a lot of residents who are part-time residents, and one of the things I'd like to see happen, if it's financially feasible, is to develop a web system where we can have people log in on our website, participate in the meetings, call their questions in, email their questions in, so they have, so that they're actually buying into what's going on. We went through a situation just the other day where we had 2 homeowners come in. it got quite contentious, and I think, you know, we could have done a lot better before the fact in terms of addressing the issues. We should have sat down with both parties and had that come in and try to address the issues and try to resolve it. You know, the situation we have today, it was a situation where there was no win. Nobody really won. There was a winner and a loser. So it may end up costing us, going to litigation, and costing the city money to do that. But, that's really about all I can say is we need more participation. We need to get the information out sooner to our residents than we're doing right now.
Okay.
I would double what he said. I think that we need to develop new techniques to disseminate information from the town and to perhaps state in a clearer way exactly what the decisions we make. Because sometimes we make decisions and people misinterpret the decisions that have been made. And we tend to use the legalese terminology that the state requires and in some cases are that the government or that the courts require in the case of ordinances and things like that, and they don't really explain what we're doing. That's all I have to say.
Well, I agree with what Jim said about the need to get more information out. In fact, this year's budget has money to do that, and Jim and the mayor have agreed to lead an effort to figure out what that is. Sometimes it's as simple as a suggestion made by one of our citizens to put a TV screen up here so people can see the papers that we're shuffling around. Other times it would be to actually go online and let anybody who wanted to watch our meetings watch our meetings. So I think we're all in agreement on the need to do that better. One other quick comment. I don't believe life is a zero-sum game. I don't believe that somebody has to win and somebody has to lose. But I think there are also certain decisions that you make that are contentious. You just can't help it. We run for office to make those decisions. And there's sometimes when you can't go out and listen to everybody before a meeting. But it's not allowed under the law. That's called ex parte communication, and you can get in trouble for doing that. So we come and we listen to people on the matter that was mentioned before. That item was on our agenda at least 3 times. And both parties were given ample opportunity to come, but they just didn't like each other. It's that simple. And they were listened to. Each one was given an opportunity. Every other citizen was given an opportunity to speak. I think it took an hour and a half, but we made a decision. And we'll see what happens. I don't think there'll be any litigation as a result. What people are forgetting is that the resolution that was approved had 7 conditions on it. And those 7 conditions were done to ensure that the decision was proper and that both parties were treated fairly.
David?
What was the question?
The question was, as in any town at times, we do not agree on everything. Personalities can clash. In these situations, how would you handle a situation in which you really disagree with another citizen during either a town planning or town council meeting, assuming you're elected to the council?
Disagreements shouldn't be based on personalities. Disagreements should be based on facts and principles. And I believe with those 2 things in consideration, again, the town is a collective council. Something should be put to vote within the realm of the laws that apply, and we'll move on.
All right. Bob?
I agree with most of my associates up here about what they plan to do or whatever. But the question you asked is what we would do with a disagreement, not what we're going to do anything else, just that question.
Yeah.
I'm a pointed man. I deal with one point at a time in my past. So whatever was put forth for me, I studied it. I run it by a lot of different people. I got opinions. And if I didn't agree with you, I would try to find out why you didn't agree with me, or I'd find out why I disagree with you. and let the person know that. But I would, I'm not a group mentality. I never have been, but I'm dealing with group now, and I have to learn a lot. Because I was always the boss. And so I'm going to have to rethink this thing. Find out, you know, what is the best thing for the city. I have a lot of experience in dealing with building subdivisions throughout the South, opening restaurants all over the country, and dealing with people. And all the businesses I was in, I was not in that business. I was in the people business because it takes people to run a business. And if I if I disagree with someone, I'll find out why do I disagree with it. And
15.
Okay, that's the end of the statement.
Well, I would agree with Bob.
I think you're only one of two
everybody
voters
raised
here.
good points. And like him, I was in control of my businesses all my life. So, but you still have to listen, I think, and we have sort of a democracy here, and hopefully with 5 people, usually would have at least a consensus on which proper way to go. A lot of the issues here, I'm not sure are being handled on a common sense basis. I think that needs to be done. And I think there's a lot of people who do not get the information out. If you don't go to the meetings or don't read the bulletin board, I personally don't get stuff because my name isn't on an email list, which I didn't even know existed until a few days ago. My email address is in the book, but it was never put on any notification list. Part of it's my fault. I've not participated in but I think there needs to be some changes made. I think people need to be aware of what's going on. There have been decisions made that have cost people an awful lot of money and aggravation. I think it was but you have to admire people who do here doing this. I think everybody tries to do the right thing. And so hopefully I would fall into that category.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. First off, I think when there's a battle going on between 2 people, the first thing you need to do is step back and take a deep breath and take a closer look. I have been married 40 years to the same man. Believe me, we have our battles back and forth, and it works out. We're still married. I've also, not only did we raise our 3 boys, we took in 9 kids total, different times for different reasons, mostly to help improve their lives and their familyhood. That took some negotiation also to help them realize what's important. What's important, I feel, for this town is building a foundation, just like a good marriage and having a good family. I was president of Key Largo Volunteer Ambulance for a number of years. I had to deal with a lot of different instances with that. It was not always pleasant. I think that I would be able to take a clear look and with plans and rules that are set by the town with a good foundation, it basically, I think, would clear a path in one way or the other. So it isn't a right and a wrong. It's a formula that this town has developed, and we would build that foundation to be fair and equal to everyone, and we take it from there. I think we need to, again, get the word out. I believe the televise is something that I've thought of also is a very good method so that things aren't, if you're not at a meeting, you haven't missed something and something wasn't put through when you weren't there.
15.
Thank you. Well, I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay. Number 1, David, are you a full-time resident of the town of Lake Santeetlah or Grant County? Yes or no?
Yes.
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 Okay, the question then is full-time resident. So all of you are full-time?
What is the definition of full-time?
You live here 12 months out of the year. All right, second
Then you
question.
better ask the question again.
Yeah.
Second question. Well, again, since it's a similar question, we'll start with you, David. If you own another home, where is it and how much time do you spend each year outside of Graham County? Yes, do you own another home?
I do own another home, and it is in Graham County. I do not live there.
I live here full-time. I own a lot of things. And I stay here the last 4 years full-time. I've closed up houses that I didn't need and sold them. I either rent them out. So, you know, I'm your man here.
I live here,
I am living here permanently. I made a decision when I decided to run for town council to give up my residency in Florida. I do own another home in Key Largo. I also, like Bob says, I own several properties. They're investment properties. We either will rent them or one is rented. I have children living in some. So basically, this is where I'm going to stay. This is my home.
Live here full-time. The last house we had was in Florida. We sold it October the 1st of last year.
I live here full-time. I've been living in my current home since 2004. I sold the only other house I ever owned before this in 2001.
I own no other property.
Very good. Seven. Roger. Let's see. Being a council, and I'm going to ask you two questions that are quite similar but a bit nuanced. So I'll just start with you each time, Roger. Being a council member may require a commitment of multiple days per month. Are you willing to spend several days of a month working for the town?
Well, first, in the 2 years I've been on the council,
Yes or no?
I
Sorry.
missed one meeting, so the answer is of course. I will be here whatever is necessary.
Yes.
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 Definitely.
Yes.
Okay. Follow-on question. Being a council member also requires interacting with both public and other governmental and non-governmental groups. Are you willing and able to represent the town in meetings with the county commission, Great, the library board, the town of Robbinsville, Brookfield, the U.S. Forest Service, and other multiple state and local agencies and NGOs?
Yes.
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 Of course. Yes.
Within reason.
I cheated you, Jim. 5 didn't fall out of my cup.
I'm protesting.
Number 3. So this goes to political stance and town issues. Bob Ware, do you think the town has too many, not enough, or about the right amount of ordinances today on the books?
Well, what I've seen is that I think you probably have plenty. They probably need to be addressed in a common sense and probably one-on-one basis. It's pretty hard to have a blanket ordinance for certain things without having exceptions needed for them. And I think there should be new ones as need be. But to me, I think it's adequate. Applying them properly probably is the key. And I think that's maybe a fault sometimes.
Okay. Do you want me to repeat the question? or
No,
not?
I think I understand the question, thank
Okay.
you. But I do think there's too many ordinances. I don't know if they're completely enforceable. I want to revisit that if I do get on the council, if I am voted in. I think we need to rethink a lot of what's been put on the books in the last couple of years.
We obviously need rules for the common good of everybody. But as I learned in my work experience, if you have rules that are not enforceable, that creates all kinds of problems. And I've only been on the council since September the 1st, so I can't say I'm very familiar with all of our rules and regulations, but all of them are worth revisiting at certain times.
when the town was formed, somebody went out and picked up a set of ordinances and a set of land use codes from some other place or some other places, and they incorporate them as a total. And I question whether anyone ever went through them or not. They certainly are not well organized. They're certainly not well thought out relative one to the other. We've been going through a process of what they call codification, which is cleaning up of the ordinances. We'll be through with that fairly soon. We will then have an opportunity to go through the ordinances. They'll be available probably online for other people to help go through it. And hopefully this will allow us, for the first time since I've been around, to actually go through and perhaps simplify some of the ordinances.
Well, I'm totally supportive of what the mayor said. We're going through that codification process, so everybody knows that's about 150 pages of documents and not a simple task. And it should be ready for discussion and public hearing very quickly. Do we have too little, too few, too many ordinances? Well, let's clarify one thing. This town council in the past 2 years has not passed an ordinance. It has clarified numerous policies that needed to be reviewed and clarified. An ordinance takes a public hearing, and a public hearing is advertised, and everybody gets a chance to speak about it. We've not done that on any ordinance. So we've looked at an awful lot of policies and rules. We've upgraded them, changed them. Government is a dynamic thing. It needs to change all the time in relation to what the needs of our citizens are, what external forces there are. Some people believe we need less government. Some people believe we need more. And when we run for office, we get elected to listen to everybody and try to do what we think is the best thing in a public forum and without favoritism.
I'm not currently aware of how many ordinances the town has, but since it's something that was brought up, I would imagine there are too many.
To be perfectly honest with you, Dick, I need to read the orders. I need to know what I'm talking about. And I will do this in the near future. And then I'll give my answer later.
All right, fair enough. I started with you, didn't I, Bob? Okay, thank you. Number 5, Jim. You win again?
You're not stuck in the cup anymore.
The question is a little bit lengthy, so if someone as we go down wants me to repeat, let me know. The town currently has a sewer study underway and has submitted a grant request to study the possibility of creating a downtown for the community. Would you support using a straw vote of all the residents of the town to gain an understanding of public opinions on issues which require the town to commit a significant output of time, money, and energy? And let me explain what I mean by a straw vote. By a straw vote, I mean a situation like this where, you know, it's advertised, people can come in, understand it, and then you get a yes, no from the audience, whether or not they're qualified to vote in Graham County.
Well, I think I touched on this earlier. The fact that we don't get enough information out ahead of time about the sewer study or about the grant for a downtown area, as it came out in our council meeting Tuesday, I think people were taken by surprise as to what some of the content was in that most recent grant application. I'm not opposed to grant applications at all. I am opposed to anything that would infringe upon any person's property rights. You know, man's home is his castle. I would not vote for anything to detract from that or take away from the egress or interest to their property or light pollution or noise pollution or anything like that. So, but I think the problem we have was that we really didn't do a very good job of advertising.
Okay?
I have a question, moderator.
No.
Either my batteries and my hearing aid are going down, or maybe they all could talk a little louder.
Okay, We've had two studies that were brought up in,
Hang on a second. Okay, just hold it down, please.
we've had two studies that have been brought up recently. One was on the sewer and one was on the downtown area. Both of these have been kicking around for as long as I've been living here. We did a formal sewer study and we did not get a grant for it. We spent a lot of the town's money about 10 years ago. Came to no conclusion whatsoever. The conclusions that we did come to were, it turns out, were inadequate because Robbinsville didn't have the capacity to service anyway, which was the result that they recommended. Anyway, so it's time to put these issues to bed. And I don't know any other way to do it but to have somebody come in and help us make these decisions, somebody who knows what they're doing. And that's what we're doing with the sewer study. I personally think that we're going to come out the hole that says that septic tanks are fine for this town, except in a few small, limited cases, and we'll come up with alternate solutions. We'll come up with the best alternate solution the technology offers today for those cases. And for the rest of us, we will just continue on the way we have been for many years, and probably will continue on for another 50 to 100 years. On the downtown area, this has been kicked around again for many years now. Various people have various ideas on it. No one has stepped up to say, I want to open a business here, because I don't think there's a business case for opening a business here. But I'd like to put it to bed. I'd like to say, let's figure out if it makes sense to do it. If it does, then what sort of process we need to go through in order to come up with a reasonable conclusion.
Well, to answer your first question, I don't think that straw votes are the definition of leadership. When you run for office, you run to make decisions. And all we've said, all of us, about listening to people and getting input is clearly part of that. But you run here to ultimately make a decision. So I am not a supporter of straw votes. Every controversial item that you've listed, both the sewer project and the downtown study, has been discussed in this council at least 4 or 5 times, if not for years, as the mayor has said. Each one of those, by the way, in the grant application requires a citizen involvement process once you start the study. And the sewer project has a citizen involvement process. There's about a dozen people on that committee. We've met once. We have another meeting scheduled. And nothing will happen without enormous citizen input all the way through. Same thing for the study, if we get the grant, for the downtown. This town lacks a store where people can buy things. It lacks a nice restaurant. It certainly lacks a public restroom building. I saw 2 people out here, or whatever they were, trying to get in here this morning. We need a public restroom building, and it would be very nice if we had a small amphitheater where people could get together, socialize, go back to where we were before with more friendly place to get together, and not just sit in our houses. So people may not agree with that, but we will be having that conversation, hopefully, if we get the grant, over the next year. What really dismayed me about what happened the other day was that people were out there stirring up trouble. They told Aura that her property, this is important, please. They told Aura that her property was going to be condemned. She had to go see a lawyer to be comfortable about that. They told an 87-year-old man that his property was going to be condemned, confusing him, causing him great stress. This is not how we should do business here.
Okay. David?
This is a 2-part question.
Yep, I'll read it again. The town currently has a sewer study underway and has submitted a grant request to study the possibility of creating a downtown for the community. Would you support using a straw vote of all the residents of the town to gain an understanding of public opinion issues which require the town to commit a significant output of time, money, and energy? Now, in fairness, I've allowed people to expound on that because this is an issue that is kind of on the forefront of a lot of people's minds. So, straw vote, yes or no, and then say what you'd like. You have 2 minutes.
I, first off, would not support a straw vote because I don't even support an issue as far as downtown is concerned. I don't think we have an area available for a downtown, even if we did. What are we going to do with the downtown area? So the aspect of the sewer study, I believe that if a resident has a problem with their sewer system, they should not look to the town for answers, because the town has no say-so really over their sewer system. The county does. They have set forth procedure as far as certifying, obtaining a certificate of occupancy. If your residents cannot pass those standards that have been set forth by the county, that's the residents that have a problem, not the town. Now, collectively, if a study is being done, and I'm not sure what the study was even for as far as maintaining a town goes, if there's a problem with many of lakefront properties, maybe it's something the town would address as far as being able to provide a solution. But outside of that realm, I don't think the town really has any business even studying something like that unless the problem presents itself.
Okay. In my mind, what the answer is to the question.
So the question is, would you support a straw vote of all the residents on issues
Well,
of
this is the question I have. Can everyone that owns property here vote for that, what you're asking?
Sure, I think anybody would.
Okay, all right. Yes, you got to do something. You have got a serious problem. Not you, but you know.
I didn't take it personally.
The average person. But this is one of the worst engineered towns I have ever seen in my life, and I've seen a lot of them. But this thing was done with piecemeal, and it's very, very poor. But the sewer system, you know, to live there, you have to have a way to discharge the sewers, and it's going to be very difficult. Now, Rosado put in a system that will work. Now, I don't know if you need one or two of those here. I haven't studied it, but I do need to know what I am answering before I know. And it's just a screwed up town. But I mean, I'm not a people. But the way they engineered this town sucks. So anyway, yes, I would agree that, you know, we got to go forward and do something. And if we can't keep talking about it, we have to do something. And I don't run the show here, but I'll definitely be a part to solve the problem.
Okay. Bob, you want me to repeat the question?
No, I think it's okay. My answer probably will be better one way or the other, I guess is what I should say. I think that you should have a straw vote, and I think everybody who owns property here should have a very valid opinion on what goes on. I don't think that a council should dictate what happens and then see if it's okay and that sort of thing. Personal. The sewer system, I just don't see how it can possibly work where you are pumping sewage into Robbinsville, which I've heard. It just doesn't seem practical in any fashion to me. I think the septic systems are probably the only thing that I know about that would work here. And I don't know how many people are having problems, half a dozen, but I don't know if anybody knows. But just say there are 6, you would probably be much better off. And those people, it's their responsibility, I think, to handle the problem. If they bought property at a very good price because it has no sewer facility, then they should buy another piece of property, which is, I know that's been done. They pump the sewage to another piece of property. For money, you might be much better to buy their property and spend several $1 million trying to get sewage into Robbinsville. Doesn't seem practical to me. As far as the town, city, or commercial advisement here, you'd have to put together what somebody wants, to approve something before what you see what they need or what somebody wants seems foolish to me, because it can always be handled at the time. The only way sewage, a big system, makes sense for anybody is if you're going to do commercial stuff, or if you're going to put condos in here. And I don't think very many people would want that.
Okay. Connie?
Okay, I had said earlier, I want to give the people of this town back his vote. So yes, a straw poll, or whatever, how you want to phrase it, yes, I do think the people of this town need to be notified and on board about what is going on. The sewer study, if I believe is true, the reason why the sewer grant was first applied for was to create jobs, because there is no sewer study grant available. I'm wondering how that came about. I don't like the sounds of the way that went. The downtown area was put together with the people who wrote the grant, their views, and I think what they did was insult the intelligence of the people, thinking that they knew best on what they should do with their property. And I think that's wrong. These people that spoke about being very upset, they had no idea this was going on. They were upset that their property was considered to be in poor condition. I believe that they have a right to be upset, and I don't think we should continue with this downtown grant. Why spend $2,000 of taxpayers' money plus $15,000 or plus of government funds to do a study on property that we don't own? The town does not own it. It's privately owned. People take a lot of their personalities in their property, their home, their love, their family. This is theirs. It's not ours to decide it's not going to have that. We should take it, or not take it, but we should consider it poor and run down. That's not right. I'm sorry. I'm very against that grant.
15.
Oh, that's basically it. I think we need to re-look at these grants that are put out from this town.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bob, you're the winner. Bob Allman.
I'm the man.
You're the man. Do you think the town, so this is a two-part question. You can answer them both. We won't go around. Do you think the town has sufficient security, particularly in the off-season when fewer residents are here? And if no, what further would you propose to do?
Would you read the first part again?
Sure. Do you think the town has sufficient security, particularly during the off-season when fewer residents are here? And if no, yes or no?
I'd have to know how many criminals you got out here.
I'm sorry.
I'd have to know how many criminals you got out here.
Well, you've got to make a judgment. That's why you're on the town council. So yes or no, do you think the current security is sufficient? And if no, what would you do?
I'd have to say no.
Okay. What would you propose to do beyond what's being done
To
today?
improve it,
Yeah.
I'd buy me another gun.
Amen.
I'm trying to put a little humor in
Buy me
it.
another gun.
Everybody looks too serious to me. But anyway, start over.
Okay. Do we currently have sufficient security, yes or no? And if you say no, tell us what further you would like to see the town do.
I did have to ask Raymond first. If he could do
Well, I'm
the
asking
job.
you, Bob. A wise man.
Yes.
I think the security is adequate, but probably I'm not too aware of how many break-ins. I think part of it got broken into, and some stuff got stolen from the water. But I don't know, it'd be a tough fix for that. But I think Raymond's presence at the entrance, you know, I think he probably knows most people who come and go here, and I think at nighttime, I think that's good enough. Probably your problem is in the daytime. And how are you going to put up a gate system of some sort where you check to see if they're residents or visitors? I don't think that ever works. So people come around, knock on doors, and no one's there, and they break in. That's pretty hard to stop that. Having an owner awareness and know what your neighbor is and does, and checking on them, that probably is your best way. And having an awareness committee or people who, a number to call for that might make some sense.
Okay.
I do think the security is good. Everything could be improved, but I do believe that the security system we have now with Mr. Raymond driving around and familiar with the area and who lives where and is a good system. One thing that I would almost suggest, I think, as a whole is possibility of some type of little sticker or something that identifies that your car, it belongs here, like a Thunderbird Association sticker or something, a quick reference if somebody's driving past, they see a car that's not familiar, doesn't have a sticker on it or something, just a little identification process, something, quick reference, they say, oh, okay, they belong here, they have it's some kind of identifying factor, just a strange, rather than just a strange car going, park someplace. But I think we're fine. I think we have, but you're always going to have break-ins no matter if you have breaks in every corner. It's going to happen.
Jim?
I'm not aware of any major problems at the time. I know Raymond, we have a contract with him to provide security, and he does an excellent job. The problem is Raymond can't be here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I've lived here a year and 2 months. I have yet to see a sheriff's car come through Lake Santeetlah. And we provide 13% of the revenue to the county. The citizens here do. We should be getting a little bit more help from the sheriff, and I think that's something we need to push.
I think there's two aspects to security. One is the aspect of people coming in by vehicles or on foot, perhaps, but I think we control that pretty well. I think Raymond does a good job. People don't know when he's going to be here. We have other watch groups, people are aware of what's going on around here. The real problem is people coming in from the water. And it's very difficult for anyone on land to control that, and we really don't have any mechanism to get people out on the water. Something that would help would be home security systems, especially that have video associated with them. But unfortunately, our technology here for anything on the internet or anything like that is really limited. And we have looked at various options for this, and nothing seems to really be adequate. So I think we're doing probably as good a job as we can, and we're certainly open to anybody who has any suggestions along this line.
Roger?
I think Raymond does an excellent job for us, but without disclosing the percentage of 24/7 that he's here, let's just say it's very low. When there is an emergency, Raymond has his phone and his radio, and he is here within minutes. So Raymond does a great job. Jim mentioned before that we're 13% of the county tax roll. We also talked about the fact that we need to spend more time gaining respect and participating in events with other units of government. And we've done that more and more with the county. For instance, they now collect our taxes for us. And there's a lot of other things that we do cooperatively with the county. I think leadership here would be that if we put 13% of the sheriff's tax support in, we ought to get 13% of his time. And that's a conversation that should be held, and I think between Raymond and the sheriff, we would have adequate protection here. But somebody's going to have to take that role, work with the county, work with the sheriff, because he's independently elected, and that's what sitting up here is about, is thinking of these issues, doing the research, and having the courage to get out and meet with people. So, do we have enough police protection today? No. There's people all around this room who've been robbed from the water or from land, and we have a lot of other issues that we need to have more security. But let's make sure that we get our fair share of that from what we're already paying for the county budget.
Okay. David?
The question of security has always been on my mind since I've lived here because it's a unique community. Granted, there's only one way in and one way out if you're in a vehicle. If you're in a boat, you can, all bets are off. but I feel that this present security is adequate. I say that, and I'm going to justify it. Last week, I believe a canoe was recovered that was actually taken from the Thunderbird community. There's your 13%. They're doing their job. I think that all we can do is anything we can to help them do their job. And with current security intact, that said, back to you.
All right. Thank you. Number one, you can start again, Dave. Let's see here. You support the development of multi-family dwellings in any form within the town?
No.
No.
Yes. Shall I elaborate?
Sure.
Because it's not our choice, or it's not our, how do I want to phrase this? The property where, the only place where multi-family homes right now is in some type of atmosphere where people know it's this one over here on the old lodge. If the owner of that property was given the right, when he purchased that property, to build what he wanted to build, I don't feel that we can go back and try to take that away from him. He bought that property with the assumption that was what he could do with it. I don't feel that we as a town can just go back now, years later, and say, we're going to change your zoning, and we'll let the insurance company deal with it. That's wrong.
Okay.
I would be opposed to multifamily homes.
Yes, multifamily homes is controlled by our zoning, our land use, and for most of the town, we have zoning that will prohibit multifamily dwellings. The only issue is in the area where the lodge was and down here where the town hall is and all. I would not be opposed to multifamily dwelling down on this end of the town if it is away from all the residences.
Well, just to be a little clear, today's zoning allows multifamily anywhere in this community, on the mountain, in Lakeside, and around here. That is what the zoning allows. Now, zoning changes, people's desires change. You learn about the implications of multifamily, which if they were built here would be mostly rental. And as we know, renters cause issues that we're concerned about. I do not support multifamily anywhere where there are currently single-family homes. I do support limited multifamily, and we're talking about 4 or 5 or 6 units within this commercial area. And the commercial area starts on the east side of Lakeside and goes all the way over to the marina. Now, why do I do that? That's important. It's not just that I make a statement that I like it, but why do I do it? If we don't allow some commercial development, including multifamily, in this community, we're going to end up with the entire tax burden in the future being on the residential property. Let's face it, costs of government do go up. Now, our tax take in this town over the past 2 years has only gone up by a few $1,000s because as the values went down, the millage went up, and the total taxes that we have assessed have only gone up by a few $1,000s. If you look at the long-term future of this town, and you say it is a future without some commercial, maybe a store, maybe a restaurant, maybe some multifamily, then the entire burden of the future is going to be borne by the single-family owners. So those of you who don't like taxes, consider that.
15.
What is the alternative to not having some good commercial development? It's that the entire tax burden falls on the single-family residents, and I oppose that.
Okay. Thank you all. Number 2, Bob. Many of the residents think the town is currently pretty sharply divided. If elected, what would you do to heal that divide? Want me to repeat?
No, I got the question. First, I have to know who's Repeat your question, please.
That many of the residents of the town,
I'm 80 years old, I have a problem.
I wear the hearing aids too. Many of the residents think the town is currently pretty sharply divided. If elected, what would you do to heal that divide?
I don't know if there's anything you can do with different personalities. I'd like to see everybody get along, but that's impossible. I don't think I could do anything for an individual to do what he wants to do. You know, if he doesn't like me, he has the right not to like me. If I don't like him, I got the right not to like him. But I just don't see how I could solve the problem now. I got to pass it now.
Okay.
You should give us options on what the potentials are. Are you thinking of like a duel or something?
Well, that's your proposal.
It might be the easiest. I don't know that I would have a solution until I know what the problems are. Evidently, the people have an issue that they're trying to address, an issue that needs to be fixed. I would assume and hope that everyone's trying to get along there and do the right thing.
Okay. Well, let me make sure I got that question right. Can you just repeat it real quick?
Sure. Many of the residents of the town, many of the residents think the town is currently pretty sharply divided. If elected, what would you do to help heal that divide?
Okay, first off, let's recognize why people are possibly divided. It seems to me just in the last 2 years alone, there's been more conflict and more problems and more issues and more people getting all crazy and upset. Just in the last 2 years alone. We need to revisit and find out why. What happened in the last couple of years that have gotten people so upset? Is it because things are being forced on them? Is it because of, so before I can tell you how we can resolve it, we've got to find out exactly why they're unhappy and ask them, find out why. That's it, just find out why.
Jim?
I disagree with your premise that the town is deeply divided. I think there's a handful of people that are divided. And I doubt seriously if you took a survey of all the residents, if you would find much disagreement among all of them. We had, I've been told we used to have a mayor that when there was a problem, he would go pick up the two parties that were having a dispute and take them to lunch and try to resolve things. I wish we could get back to some simple times and some simple ways of doing it.
Yes.
Well, I agree with Jim. I don't think that there is a broad-based disagreement among the residents of Lake Santeetlah. The fact is that most residents who live here really don't get involved in town politics whatsoever. All they want is a place that when they can come up, they can a place to stay, that they can get in their boat, that they can ride around the lake, and that they can look at the beautiful scenery that we have. And that's what a large majority of the people here do want. And for every issue that there's disagreement on, it's a different group of people who are fighting and taking different sides on the issues. So it's not an easy solution. I agree with Bob down there that said that it's natural for people to disagree. And I think that's the situation. I think we just have to look for ways that we can try to improve this communication and try to provide ways to for people to understand what's going on.
Roger?
A very wise mentor of mine named Seymour Gelber, who was mayor of Miami Beach, used to say, sometimes when there's smoke, there's fire, and sometimes there's a smoke machine. We have a few smoke machines here. Another saying that I saw, and I'm going to pay for this myself, I think. I want to put a sign up that says, welcome to the town of Lake Santeetlah, a bit of paradise, the home of about 250 happy people and a few soreheads. That's what's going on. Do we have a great schism in this town between the haves and the have-nots, or ethnic groups, or any of the ills that our country has as a whole? Absolutely not. What we have is a democracy. What we have almost are town hall meetings, like they have in New England. where people come out and say, I don't like this, I do like this, you're crazy, you need to change. I mean, we hear all kinds of things. This is a democracy. It's a wonderful place, but we're not sweeping stuff under the rug. We're putting it out there, and we're letting people know. The real question is, how do you communicate better with your people? Jim has been saying this 4 or 5 answers. I agree with him. Do you do that through technology? Do you do that through more advertising? Do you do that through direct mail? We need to do all of the above and let people know more about the issues. But I think if we're honest with ourselves, we'll understand that all that communication is not going to bring more people to the meetings. It's just not. It's at least going to let people know what's going on.
Okay. David?
I don't understand how this question came to be, but to try to reduce the division, if there was one, it would be a collective effort. It would involve those not only that think there's a sharp division, but I think that something like that, representative of the town as a whole, says that, you know, we used to have some get-togethers, and I think more of those would be enhanced.
Okay, thank you all. Let's see who the next lottery winner is. Number 6, Bob. Bob Crabtree. I guess there's more than
You have to be
more than a couple of Bobs.
You have to be a little bit more specific.
Yeah. You're going to love this. How would you go about enforcing either the existing or any new ordinances? And let me preface this by saying enforcement of ordinances has been an ongoing issue for the 20 years that I've lived here. And I'm not sure we've ever resolved that.
Well,
So,
there's
with
not
that background.
there's not a single answer on that. I think the biggest issue here is that people don't know what the ordinances are. They don't know what the rules are. And some people come in here and they do things that they don't think anything about, that irritate their neighbors, and that there are rules against that. They're doing that, but they don't think about it, they don't know it. So part of it is education. Part of it is getting the information out of what the rules are. And I don't know, we've talked about that several times up here today, and I don't know what the solution to that is. And beyond that, I don't, you know, there's no one single answer, because every time you look at a particular ordinance or a particular rule, there's going to be a different solution for how you enforce that rule. So it's, you can't generalize it and say that there's one particular way to do them all.
I think the first thing to do is to make sure all the ordinances are reasonable and that they're enforceable. And that's what we're doing with the codification. That's going to take a little while. There'll be a lot of public meetings and hearings on that, and it may not be done until next summer, and probably shouldn't be done until next summer when everybody's here. But let's get our own act in order first, and we're in that process right now. Once an ordinance is in place, then the mayor's absolutely right. This is about education first. People need to know that what they're doing is wrong. Hopefully they know that in advance so that they don't do it. And then you need to have some zone of reasonableness. There's always two sides to a story. There's always hardships, and every ordinance that we're looking at will have the ability to have a variance somehow or other if people have hardships. There's always specific issues on a piece of property. All that needs to be worked out in an open way. But I do believe once you try as hard as you can to get people to comply and they don't, then you need to enforce that ordinance, or it shouldn't be on the books at all. And that doesn't just go for Santeetlah, that goes for every unit of government that there is. So let's get our act together first. Let's do a lot of education. Let's give people a chance to ask for a variance, but then if they don't comply, let's enforce equally amongst all people and have the courage and maybe have to spend a little money to enforce. I don't want to see trees clear cut in this community. I don't want to see people building things without a building permit. I don't want to see our roads destroyed because people haven't paid their security deposit to protect our infrastructure. So I think we have to have the courage to do this the right way, but to do it.
Thank you. David?
The question is how to enforce the ordinances?
How would you go about enforcing either the existing or new ordinance? And with the background that I gave earlier, in the 20 years I've been here, this is something that every council has grappled with, and with mixed results.
I say take all the community residents and let them enforce. In fact, that's what's probably been occurring. Everybody brings their grievances to the town. This is happening and that's happening. Well, in retrospect, I think the proper way to enforce an ordinance is with law enforcement. Now, with that said, we have a somewhat limited law enforcement. But when it comes down to ordinances that are really something that's pertinent to the town, that I think will survive codification, the town can, there are several avenues that can be taken. And I think that that would be amongst the town's council members to decide. But given that there's going to be times when you have a grievance between neighbors and as a result of an ordinance, I don't know that the town really has any business being there unless it's if it's something that's going to go and help those two neighbors out. Maybe a variance is in order. Like I said, and what Bob stated, you know, each situation is different. So there are various ways to go about enforcing or alleviating the need for the enforcement. You know, I would say a better question is how do you. Never mind.
I'd have to find out, and if I'm re-elected, I've got some work to do, studying the ordinance. I'd have to find out what would work for the whole community, if they are enforceable or not. I would accumulate the ones that are, in my mind, what would work and what would not work. I mean, if there's stupid ordinances on the books, they should be taken off. But you know, we just got to have a plan here. And this town doesn't have a plan. You have very few people that will participate. And to make something work, you better work as a whole. And I don't know if they are enforceable, David.
Okay.
That's my answer.
I think if the ordinances are being redone, that's probably a step in the right direction, and probably there needs to be some thought put into how you enforce those when you put those ordinances or redo the ordinances. Probably education would be one of the more important things, and everyone who buys, there needs to be some way, it'd be nice to have some way that everybody who is a new owner has a list of the ordinances, and those ordinances should be posted on the website of the town. The realtors could certainly hand that out, and the owners themselves are doing it. I'm not sure how you would go about that, but I think trying to make that happen would be a good step in the right direction.
Okay.
Okay, first off, ordinances. I don't know how we can enforce some of the ordinances that are on the books. I don't know if the town or council people or whoever's going to be dealing with the situation of the ordinance at that time, who they are, will have the qualifications. If you have a tree ordinance on the book, you really need somebody who knows about tree, an arborist. If you have a parking ordinance, for instance, that is in effect recently, that was supposed to be mailed out to everyone in this town. It was supposed to be accompanying your water bill. It never happened. So people don't know what it is exactly. They hear rumors, they get stories, they get this and that. And it affects people's lives. Anything that's going to take a toll on somebody's life here and the way they live and their property, they need to be aware. So I do agree with the doctor here that, yeah, I believe that there should be some kind of a booklet that states these are the rules, instead of just all of a sudden it coming up at a real estate deal. Real estate deals fall apart all the time, was told at a meeting. I was astonished. I don't know if we can enforce, because I don't know if we have the professionalism, the qualifications to enforce them. So they need to be revisited.
I have not read all the ordinances, but I understand we have a lot of them. I think we have a leash law, where all your dogs are supposed to be on a leash. If your dog's not on the leash, I have no idea what the penalty or the consequence is. I understand we're not supposed to discharge a farm in town limits, but I don't know what the penalty is if you do that. Again, like I said earlier, I hate having rules that are not enforceable. It's ridiculous. The ordinance should outline what the ordinance is about, what the consequences are, and how you enforce it.
Okay, thank you all very much. Bob, you get started again. Okay, this is a yes/no question, no elaboration. Would you support holding town planning meetings and/or town council meetings on weekends to enable some of the weekend residents to attend? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, again.
Thank you. Also a yes/no question, no elaboration. Roger, would you support, or should the town collect a tourist tax on short-term rentals that occur within the town? Yes, no?
Yes.
No elaboration?
Yes.
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 No.
Definitely yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. This one obviously requires some elaboration. David, you get a start. Why did you come to the town, and what motivates you to run for this office?
I made it to this town after, well, let me start out by saying the first town I came to in the mountains was Highlands. Aside from having a waiting list and a $50,000 a year membership fee like the country club up there has, I felt that this was the next best thing. What was the second one?
And what motivated you to run for this office?
Oh, well, I've noticed changes, proposals that represent that of what I would call big government, and I don't like it. So I would run in light of keeping government small, keeping a small town feeling around here. This is why I would run.
Okay, thank you. Bob?
How I got here was, you really want to know that?
That's the question. You can answer it however you like.
5 minutes, 2 minutes?
2 minutes.
2.
Wow. I built a log home over at Nantahala back in, started in 2000. It took me 2 years to build it, and after I got it built, I had a big piano. It was perfect. But there was no place to go. There was nothing, you could go to the water, but that was about it. It'd take me an hour and a half to go get a paper. Go get a cold beer, it'd take me half a day. But anyway, I put it on the market, sold it, and Robert Mosley was one of the agents. And he said, Bob, what are you going to do for Kevin now? I said, well, I'm going to look around. I'm running out of time here. But anyway, he said, I got a place I want to show you. So he brought me over here, showed me the place that I have now. I liked it, my wife didn't. And I made him an offer, he took it. And that's how I'm here.
And what motivates you to run for the office?
They need some help.
Fair enough. I'm aware. In 2004, I hiked the Appalachian Trail from Georgia to Maine, and I thought this was one of the prettiest areas. And my wife Becky has family up here and wanted to move up to North Carolina to be not too close to her parents. And she was going to Cashiers and in that area, and I told her that we should definitely look into this area. So she went there for a couple of weeks one summer, up on Yellow Creek for a couple of weeks one summer, and Robert Moser took her out on Lake Santeetlah, and she never wanted to go anyplace else. So, and I'm running for this because I think you have to give back to your community, and if you don't like some of the things that go on in the community, you can complain or you can become a participant and try to make things better. And that's my goal.
Thank you. Connie?
Yes, well, over 25 years ago, Skip and Barbara Cruz, we were friends in the Keys, they brought us to this wonderful little place, and I said to my husband, we have to buy something before we leave so we can come back. And that's what we did. I've been very fortunate over the 25 years plus, whatever how the dates are, but to bring my children here and their friends for vacations and summer breaks. We love the water, the sun, the fish, fishing, the fresh air, and of course the tranquil feel of a small town. Now I'm blessed to share the experience with my 3 grandsons, and I hope that you get to share those feelings with the ones you love. I would love to have the opportunity to continue the vision here from long ago, here in beautiful Lake Santeetlah as a member of the town council. This is why I'm running for office, is first off, I want to be part of the solution. I want to see this town back in the good graces of the people of this town. I want people to feel comfortable coming in here, talking. I want more social activities. I want to see more things that involve community people. And I think I can bring that forth. I think I can make it work. And I feel like I can be organized, efficient, and use common sense to help with decision making.
Jude? Want to do a recap? Why did
No.
Okay.
Ann and I, we moved here just a little over a year ago, but we wanted to move here for a long time. We just had to wait for the right opportunity financially, and that came about. I was approached by at least 3 or 4 different people who live here on Lake Santeetlah and asked to get involved on the business end of the town. As an old parole officer, I've dealt with some tough people in some very tough situations. Some of them are my employees. I should say some of them were the convicts. But I think this is the most beautiful place on the face of the earth. This is where I plan on dying. And if I can keep my wife here, which I think is not going to be a hard task at all. But I just think I have an obligation. We volunteer for a lot of other causes, and actually I'm doing it for the money.
That's how I have to follow.
Well, my wife and I had a condo on Lake Lanier, and we loved it. We loved being on the lake. We moved up to Cary, North Carolina, just out of Raleigh, on the lake. That wasn't big enough lake to have a boat, but we still loved living on the lake. So when we started looking around North Carolina for a place that we could have a boat on the lake, and there was absolutely nothing in the Raleigh area that was attractive at all. We were so spoiled from having lived over in the mountains. And so we started, well, a neighbor of ours, a former neighbor of ours, Neil Gatewood, has a place up here. For those of you who don't know it, he's a famous artist, and he's got pictures throughout the country, and he used to be the official artist for Delta Airlines, made Christmas cards and everything like that for him. In any case, he had a place here, and he said, you can use it anytime you want to. So we started coming up on weekends and whenever I could get a little time off, and started looking around, and we ended up buying a cabin here, and we have loved it ever since we've been here. The reason that I want to continue on this is because in 2003, when I was working with the council, I realized that we had to have some people who live here participate in the activities of the council. And so I volunteered, and I've been doing it ever since.
Well, my wife Beth and I started thinking about retirement 15 years ago, but we knew one thing: we wanted to be in the mountains and we wanted to be on water. We looked at New England, we thought about the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, we thought about the Adirondacks, and they're just all too cold in the winter. This place is temperate. It's beautiful. It has all the requirements that we wanted. But we were first exposed to it with Mr. Rosato's sales effort. He actually brought up 20 couples here, and we had an extraordinary 3-day weekend. We went on Alan Harper's Railroad, we went hiking in the forest, out on the lake, we had folkloric cultural stuff. They actually drugged me out on the floor, and I was clogging, something to say. But we fell in love with the place, so that's why we decided to come here. We've made a major investment in our property. As you know, it was an old junk house, and it got fixed up pretty nice. Why did I decide to run? Well, public service has been my entire life. It was also inherent in my parents, who did a lot of volunteer work as well. And my wife Beth worked for government as well her entire career. Public service is a responsibility, it's a gift, and it's a calling. And that's why I decided to run. I can't tell you that everything was wonderful, but it never is. There's not a perfect unit of government in this whole world. There's always things that need to change. And change is not easy. I've been a change agent my whole life, and if that's a sin, then forgive me. But the world needs to evolve, modify. Santeetlah needs to realize that its future is different than its past, and I think we're doing that in a very responsible manner.
I started with you, did I not, David?
Yes, you did.
Hmm? Yeah, thank you. She was telling me that it's time for closing, so I have half a dozen questions that I didn't get a chance to ask.
Do people want to stay a little longer?
No. Okay. Closing statement, and again, remind you, you have 2 minutes for your closing statement. And 2 to 3. Number 6, Bob Bradford, you get to go first.
Okay, well, when I gave my opening statement, I skipped over one of my bullets, and so I want to go back and cover that. 51 years ago, Cece and I were married in eastern North Carolina, and we've been living happily ever since. We have 2 sons, both of them close enough that we can drive to whenever we want to, but far enough away that they don't come to visit us when we don't want them to. In Roswell and in Chattanooga. And we have a total of 5 grandchildren, and now we have 1 great-grandchild, which is 4 a few weeks ago. So anyway, in closing statements, I just say that I'm willing to go ahead and continue to serve the town of Lake Santeetlah, and that if you also decide to elect me again to the town council, I'll be happy to serve in that way.
You get brevity points.
Well, I want to run because, as I said, public service is in my blood, and I think that this town needs to prepare for the future. we need to celebrate our past and pick the best elements of it, and many of us have said they'd like things to be happier and more social, and the processes of discussion to be more open, and I agree with all of that. But we need to understand that unless we take some forethought, have a little more commercial property, that our tax burden will be much greater on the residents than on the non-existing commercial property. So I stand for that. I will not lower myself to distorting the truth or to stirring up issues. Just the facts, ma'am, and only the facts, if you remember that TV show. Most of us are old enough on that. I welcome a hearty discussion. I don't think controversy is a bad thing. This is a democracy, and people have different views. And if you looked at who is liberal in this room, you probably wouldn't find anybody, but if you looked at who's conservative, you'd find a lot of people. At the end of the day, that's what we're about, is to put issues on the table and work them out, and it isn't always perfect, easy environment. Another thing is we need to strengthen TPOA. And I want to thank Bill Peel and all the other people who are involved in that now. The TPOA is an independent voice, and it represents truly more than just our town, but it needs to be strengthened. And it's a good way to have additional social discourse. They raise money for good causes, and I will stand for helping them to get stronger and better. I think we need to continue the collegial environment that we have on the town council. Folks come together, they have at least 2 meetings, sometimes many more if we have workshops. We discuss the issues, we respect each other, we stay pretty calm, and we always come to what I think is a fair and balanced conclusion. I believe we have a bright future in this town. Some people look at a glass of water and they say it's half full. Some people say it's half empty. Well, I don't worry about that. I want to see that glass full to overflowing. And that's what this town is about. It's exciting to see the changes that are happening, and we're getting ready for it. And I don't believe life is a zero-sum game. I think if somebody wins, somebody else doesn't have to lose. We can all win. And if we work together, this will continue to be a great town and get together even more than we already do.
David?
In closing, I would first like to thank everybody for attending, because it's really not something that we get to do every day. Holding a public forum, I don't know who thought of it. Is it a good idea? Well, yeah, I guess. I would like to say that there are some things that do need to be revisited within the town, because if we don't take a serious look at what we're doing, then we have no idea where we're going to go. With that said, back to you, Richard.
I want to thank all of you for coming and spending your own time here to try to help the town, is the bottom line. If you elect me again, or elect me for the next 2 years, I'll do the best job I can do with the time that I hear. I can devote a lot of time to it. So if you elect me, I certainly would appreciate it, and I need the money.
Well, I love it here, and I'm pretty heavily invested here in business. I volunteer with the animal advocates, and I do believe that we need more of a ownership participation and not have things forced down without people knowing that they work for one. But I grew up in Indiana and lived for 40 years in Florida, and as Jim said, I'll be dying here. And other than a couple of years in the military, that's all I've ever been anywhere in life. So I just hope to do right for this town and help it out.
Thank you. Tom?
Okay. I want to also thank you all for this opportunity to come before you as a candidate for the council person positions at Lake Santeetlah. And I guess one of the things I wanted to say is, like my dad used to say, is kind of, you have a mind of your own, don't be a follower, and stand by your convictions. And I speak for myself. I have my own views, and I speak for myself. I owned and operated a hair salon for 16 plus years. I have volunteered in many different things, Little League, Cancer Society. I'm a member of the Cedar Cliff Baptist Church. I volunteer at our dog rescue in Key Largo, more of it up here. Any monies that I do get from any meeting, $100, whatever it is going to be strictly donated straight to the Vail Valley Humane Society. I don't want any monies for this position. I feel that it's important to get a fresh point of view, something more in tune with the community in bringing forth ideas and the future for this town. So I'd like to see that. I'd like to be able to be on the council and have an opportunity to work for. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim?
Well, we live on the most beautiful place on the face of the earth. I'm arm wrestle you or fight you or any other, or any dispute with that. But, you know, because we are a small town, we don't have a lot of room to grow. We can't annex the next town over and increase our tax base. One thing that I'd like to see happen is for us to work toward increasing the values of our homes and our properties here. For most of us, this is our major investment. You know, we're not going to be back to the housing and land values of 2008, but I think there's plenty of opportunity to increase demand through advertising, through our website, through other things to make people want to come here and want to live here like we do. If I'm fortunate enough to be elected, I will promise you I will continue to work the hours that I've been working for the last 45 days. If my wife will let me, but there's a lot to be done, and I look forward to the challenges. Thank all y'all for coming.
Thank you. One comment that I would make to all of you is, over the years, the 20 plus years, I guess 20 years exactly, that Linda and I have been here, I've had various discussions with some of the people at the front table and some who used to sit there that aren't here anymore about, gee, wouldn't it be awful if we ever got to the point that we couldn't find 5 people to run for the town council. So I applaud all of you for your desire to be part of it and the civic responsibility that you've taken. And I think they all deserve a big hand. Thank you. We appreciate you.
Your meeting adjourned?
Meeting's adjourned.
Good job, Jack.
Well, I know. We all didn't talk long enough.
You run pretty good.
Absolutely.